Hi, everybody. Welcome back to TableTakes. I am joined by my favorite people in the whole world, my co-hosts. We got Peter Atkinson, Bonsai Baby, and the Noir Enigma. So, we had a lot of fun last week with our Star Trek stuff and all the headlines and the interview that we did with the amazing talent that we get to have interviewing with us. And we have another exciting guest, but I'm going to wait to tell you about it. I'm going to let you hold on while we check in with our guests, our hosts, our co-hosts, our guest co-hosts. Bonsai, why don't you start first? What have you been up to this week?
Oh, hello. I went around to some new friendly local gaming stores in my area and just basically threw money at them to help support them. I was sitting there debating whether or not to get the Wingspan expansion. I decided to wait just a little bit longer. I've been debating. There's two different Wingspan expansions they had, and I was like, no, I'll wait. I'll wait. I'm holding back just a little bit, but
The Wingspansions.
The Wingspan.
Yeah, I've heard a lot from our producer as well about Wingspan and how excited he's been about playing some Wingspan. So I think Wingspan's getting a lot of love lately.
Ooh.
Noir, what have you been up to this week?
Not too terribly much, just the same old, same old. I did upgrade my setup, which is why the background's a little different and there's clutter in the back, pardon my dust. So I've been enjoying that. Did it as a little like early birthday gift for myself. So I'm just kind of enjoying that. I have a TV now. I didn't realize I missed TV. I've just been watching Highlander all day.
Oh, nice. Well, can I ask, what is that in the background with a hand on it? That looks interesting.
So that is, I've got to try to avoid the mess. That is a cosplay of mine of one of my D&D characters.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah. That's awesome. What character?
Yeah. So that is my Dampier Lorenzo, who is a paladin of Oath of Thunder.
Nice.
Yeah, and because I love playing the character so much, he's in another campaign now, so he's kind of like a planeswalker as well, which is one of my favorites to play.
Well, speaking of Paladins of Thunder, Peter, what have you been up to this week?
Paladins of Thunder, huh? No, that's me. This week's been a great week. Well, our friend, a friend of the show, Sarah Moore, was out this week, and so we got to play Ganakagak together, and I got to GM, and so that game that we played was pre-recorded and will stream live today at 5 p.m. Pacific, right after game night on Sarah's table.
Excellent.
That was good. And the other highlight was that on Wednesday evening, Actoroke, we got to film actors doing Actoroke, including our friend here, Javion Smith, making a cameo as Augie. So it was a great film session, too. So,
yeah, it was so much fun. Getting to see a bunch of people that I remember from the second series when I was in, like the actors, and seeing some of the new people. Oh my gosh, they are so cool and they're so good at it. I have to tune in for this next one so I can see how everybody's characters work together to make my cameo look good.
Yeah, well, I was just looking at that clip today, so I think you'll be happy with it. It turned out really great, and so yeah. So now I'm in what's called Actoroke Heaven, which is the week of editing the Actoroke coverage for next week's movie night.
Well, yes, Peter, as always, hard at work. Me, on the other hand,
how have you been, Javion? What have you been up to?
I worked very, very little last weekend. I was in Vegas. It was a whole week-long trip, so that's what you guys probably saw me doing last week.
Are there any inappropriate stories that you can share with us?
Well, let's just say I drank a little too much and I lost a couple of things along the way, but I eventually found them. So that was, I didn't lose too many things. I played Feed the Kraken and oh man. Okay. So I don't know if you've ever played games that are like Werewolf or Secret Hitler, Resistance and things like that. Feed the Kraken is one of those kinds of games where we've got the pirates and we've got the sailors and they all want to get somewhere. But then of course there's the cultists and they're recruiting new people into their cult the entire time. I get recruited every single time I play this game with no fail unless I'm already the cult leader. they recruit me. They put me on their team. They're like, hey, Javion, just so you know, since you're talking so much, keep on talking, but this time help me win. So that was really fun.
You got that cult-like personality, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I grew up in a cult. I was Jehovah's Witness, so
that's right. We've compared growing up in cult stories.
Oh yeah. So folks out there watching at home, I hope you are excited because we have a lot of really cool news to share with you. So our first headline, but a very popular game you might recognize, and Peter's going to tell us all about it.
That's right. I put my name on this one right away. So this is yet another Ticket to Ride expansion, but it's Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride's so good. I never get tired of the expansions. I have a whole shelf devoted to Ticket to Ride expansions. And so here's another one. This is called, let's see, Ticket to Ride Ghost Train. Okay, now maybe they're stretching a little bit for new countries to cover, I guess, maybe. So they're going into the land of the supernatural. Well, this is an expansion for their First Journey series, which is their Ticket to Ride games that are targeted at children at a younger age group. So, okay, I get that. So Ticket to Ride, in this version, it's set in a haunted land. Think Halloween meets Disney, I think, might be a good kind of way to think about it. So the players claim their routes with parade floats, which is cool. And they're little, instead of trains, they have these little magical carriages that they put on the track. It looks really cool. And they have all sorts of destinations that are very spooky, like the Haunted Mansion and the Gingerbread House and the Lonely Barn and the Mad Scientist Lab. So, I'm good. If I had kids, well, I'd have a lot more gray hair. Wait, I'd have a lot less hair. I don't know. Anyway, good. It sounds cool. If you've got kids, Ticket to Ride is an excellent franchise, and this looks like a fun way to entertain them just in time for Halloween. And thanks to Jeffrey Dom Sanchez at ICB2 for breaking this story for us.
Excellent. You know who I think would be a great addition to this expansion if like they came with like a little miniature of Alan Rails. You guys know Alan Rails, right? Alan Rails. His parents' tragic death in a railroad accident caused him to gain the power to summon ghost trains in Rick and Morty in Vindicators 3.
Okay, yeah. I was like, where's this from? Where are you going?
I know I'm out of touch with some aspects of popular culture.
Well, that's exactly what I thought of when you said ghost train. So like, that's just where my mind goes. I like the idea of the horror places. I mean, this is probably getting away from children oriented, but maybe the Hellraiser expansion. Yeah, you could go.
Oh, I'm just thinking, why didn't they work with Finding Dracula, the game? Like you do actually have trains that go all around Europe. And it's like one of the aspects of the game is that you can either go onto a train to see if Dracula's in the city.
And you could set up your vampire lairs that are each, distance that you could travel at night. And so you could, terrorize the entire European continent.
There you go.
Yeah. Our producer just said, what if we had Ticket to Xenobite, which is giving me a lot of like flashbacks to my least favorite RPG in the whole world. But speaking of spooky RPGs, we have another exciting headline coming to us from the Noir Enigma. Take it away.
Mork! The award-winning OSR RPG has released a free edition. I just love saying that. itch.io Mork Bare Bones Edition. It was announced just this Thursday. Mork Bare Bones Edition is a pay-what-you-want copy of the award-winning game Mork, but with all the artwork and most of the graphic design stripped out. Mork Bork has mostly been praised for its artwork design and heavy metal vibes as opposed to its rules. So this kind of release actually makes a fair bit of sense. The kind of folks who want a well-designed TTRPG with beautiful artwork will still want to buy the game, and those who just want to have an accessible heavy metal game to play with their friends now have an easier time doing so. So I think that this is a great way to get more people into Mork Bork because I've heard about it everywhere. I just haven't had the chance to play it myself. So I know that I'm inclined to check this out just so I can see what it's about. And if I like it, I'll probably buy the full thing so I can get in on this artwork. But I love this model. I love making games more accessible. And I'm kind of curious as to what you guys think of free-to-play TTRPGs.
Mork Bork is definitely the game that I've heard the most about that I haven't had a chance to play yet and most want to. So let's do it. I mean, who's going to run this for us?
I mean, I'd love to. That sounds amazing. I would absolutely, because if I'm running it, that means I don't have to play it. That means I can't be scared. All I have to do is scare other people. It's so much better.
It's such a softball to Javion to say, "Who wants to run a game?" Javion's like got his hand up as you're halfway through the sentence.
Yeah. No, but it does. I like it because it is kind of like, there's like, here, let me give you a little taste, friend, and then you just totally get in love with it. Because there's some people that immediately look at artwork and just say that this is not for me without actually reading any of the rules. This kind of gives it more of like a judgment-free kind of thing. They're like, oh, this is going to be just way too much like rock and hardcore stuff, when you're just like, no, it's not as crunchy as you think it might be. And so this might be a way to.
I thought one of the rules is you have to listen to Black Sabbath while you play it.
If it is now.
It's definitely a very adaptable game. I don't know if you viewers at home recall, a couple of weeks ago, we actually did an interview with Luke Stratton with Pirate Board, and he was talking to us about how open-ended the system is, and it's open for people to sort of like change things and create things using the system. So you really get a lot of opportunities to take it in like a different direction if you want to. But speaking of taking things in your own direction, our next headline is about a board game that is being turned into a choose your own adventure book. And you could probably guess why I wanted to talk about this one, and I'm very excited about it. It's because choose your own adventure books are really cool. Choose your own adventure games are also very cool. We actually have a very exciting choose your own adventure game coming up later today that I will be running. But maybe you've heard of this trick-taking co-op card game called The Crew. I believe Bonsai and myself actually own a copy of this game. There you go. There's a good look at it right there. So The Crew, if you haven't heard of it before, it's a trick-taking co-op card game. In trick-taking games, everybody plays a card one by one, and whoever plays the highest number of a certain suit gets to claim all the cards for themselves. And the way it works throughout the game is you're not allowed to talk for much of the game. So it ends up being like you're in space, like you're unable to like hear anybody else scream or just yell at you that you played the wrong card. So you get really immersed in the survival aspect of trying to return to this planet called Planet 9. Well, entitled Die Crew, Die Rucker zum 9 Planeten in German, The Crew Return to Planet 9 is going to have a book version that is going to have choose your own adventure aspects to it. So you'll be able to flip through the book to find the page that you're directed to by making decisions. And these decisions are playing an astronaut who is trying to solve these tricky problems about being stranded in outer space. So it looks like it's going to be really cool. I'm a big fan of choose your own adventure games myself, and the publisher Cosmos has made a couple of really cool games already that you might recognize. The Crew Return to Planet 9, of course, but also a 2-player board game called Lost Cities, if you've ever heard of that one. And I don't know, some of you might not have known this, but The Crew actually had won the Kennerspiel des Jahres in 2020. That's the board game award for best expert game, game of the year kind of deal. So it is a very popular game. It's definitely deserving of some adaptation into another genre, and it looks like it could be really, really cool if you speak German. Because unfortunately, just for now, maybe not later, but just for now, this book is only going to be released in the German language with a retail price of about $20. So if you are a fan of sci-fi adventure and you really like the crew, or you really just want to learn more about this really cool book that they're creating based off of really popular game, definitely check this one out. Okay, so some more sci-fi news coming to us from Peter.
Yeah. So I'm sure everybody watching has heard of Cyberpunk Red, which is the latest edition of the Cyberpunk franchise from R. Talsorian Games, Mike Pondsmith's brainchild, classic game and genre in our industry. So he is coming out with an expansion called Tales of the Red, Street Stories, very street-oriented sort of genre, and I think Mike just loves that sort of thing. According to ICV2, Jeffrey Dom Sanchez again. This will be retailing in August for $40. It is a new book that adds a series of full-length missions, 9 of them. So nine adventures that take place in various locations in Night City. PhD Games coverage I thought was quite colorful. I'm just going to read it. Night City is a big place full of wild parties, dead bodies, and neon lights. Beneath the thin layer of advertising and grime, it's got some tales to tell. Stories of voracious gangs, hell-bent artificial intelligence. I like that. Hell-bent artificial intelligence and love. You'll get to meet suave mercenaries and movie stars and even take a ride in a submarine. You fight cyber psychos, dirty reporters, rival edge runners, and a high-flying assault team. The city's voracious. It needs more bodies to chew on, and you'll supply them one way or another. Within the pages of this book, seemingly simple jobs spiral wildly out of control, and Herculean tasks can be solved with a single bullet. It's your city. It hates you. It loves you. And you can't help but feel the same. There's adventure to be had here. And if you know what's good for you, you've got to experience it. Chumpa. So there you go. Check it out. If you like Cyberpunk. If you haven't been excited about Cyberpunk, I'm sure you are now. So go get it.
Yeah, if anybody knows Cyberpunk, it's definitely you guys. I remember playing that Cyberpunk RPG with Noir, and it really has that feel of like escapism, but still kind of realistic to what like we're living through now. So it's a little bit easier to role play through than like, oh, what were they doing like back in like the 15th century or something like that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Fair, yeah, fair. No, I love Cyberpunk. I mean, I actually went through a period where I was voraciously reading any sort of fiction around cyberpunk or that sort of area of science fiction. I find very interesting, and definitely recommend getting Cyberpunk Red if you haven't. And if you have, then time to get the adventure. Bone up.
It took me a little bit to get into the whole cyberpunk scene, but I'm now an avid fan. So yeah,
definitely.
Oh yeah, no, with me and my like every time I feel like it's kind of like a trope now for me. Every time I play something that's very cyberpunk based, I end up either being a heavy drug user or being a drug dealer, and that's how it goes. Because I'm like, I don't need mods, I just need drugs.
In a fantasy world, you could do whatever you want, Bonsai. You could even do drugs.
I don't know if
full
it's
on
like that for
gremlin
anybody
energy.
else.
And here's where we learn more about each other here at TableTakes.
Well, on that note, Noir, some very sobering news to share with us.
Yes, there is some unfortunate news to report here today. Thank you to Polygon and Michael McWhorter for providing this for us. Yu-Gi-Oh creator Kazuki Takahashi died at age 60. Kazuki Takahashi, again, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh manga series and the collectible card game as well as the anime and video game spinoffs. Was found this week in Okinawa Prefecture of Japan. Broadcaster NHK and the Japan Times reported Thursday that Takahashi, whose given name was Kazuo Takahashi, and that he wrote under a pen name, he was 60. Authorities have not announced the cause of death, according to NHK, and they're still investigating. But his body was reportedly found off the coast on Wednesday and was said to be traveling alone on a snorkeling trip. So just a creator who provided the world with so much just fun. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was actually the game that got me into a lot of nerdy stuff. I still remember like my first deck was like a surprise deck where you flip monsters from like the face down position and like they would do something. And I heard a story recently that making the card game was never the original intention. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was kind of written as an anime to spoof Magic the Gathering.
Really?
That's me.
But people were so invested or interested in the card game that they kept asking for rules. And so the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game was created. And I love that. And it's amazing that so many memories for so many people could be attributed to the creativity of one person. So
I remember that. It is true. In the very first issue of the manga of Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh is playing Magic the Gathering. He's not playing Yu-Gi-Oh, he's playing Magic the Gathering. And wow. I do remember us sending a little legal document in their direction.
Oh, that is some surprise tea being splashed in.
Excuse me. So, yeah, our stories sync up.
I mean, there's a very fun fact. There's a season 0 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I think that manga issue where they were playing Magic, there's an episode of it, which is why it's season 0. Because the season 1 that we all know is where they started focusing on the card game. So that's really cool.
Yeah. We had a role in creating one of our biggest competitors.
There truly is no better way to remember this creator than by playing the game that they worked so hard to help bring to life. So if you want to, just grab friends. It's a better time. It's never been a better time to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Than now. So definitely do that if you're feeling as sorrowful as we all are. Okay. But let's bring it back to some good things, some good news. We have a report on the Amazon Prime Day board game deals that we wanted to share with all of you. Matt Jarvis from Dicebreaker has put together a big list of all of the really exciting deals that you can get your hands on if you're looking to try some new board games or add some things that you've been waiting to get to your collection. Some standouts from the UK Prime Day board game deal section was the Marvel Villainous Infinite Power. So if you played any of the Disney Villainous games, this is a Marvel version. Or you could even try out Hardwood Folding Cribbage Board, a really nice quality cribbage board if you still haven't picked up on that one. And in the US board game deals, we have the Star Wars Imperial Assault, if you're into big army games, but Star Wars related, or even the Kingsburg 2nd edition, if you're a big Eurogamer like me. And we've also seen a lot of Prime Day D&D deals because we know we have a lot of 5th edition lovers out there. All of the official books, we've got Call of the Netherdeep, which is the Critical Role supplement book. We've also got Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, Ghosts of Saltmarsh, lots and lots of really cool deals there. And in the US Prime Day deals, you can also pick up some minis if you want to get the Icons of the Realms, Tomb of Annihilation booster pack if you want to get a little bit of a mystery in your miniature games or in on your table for your D&D games. They've also got the Icewind Dale icons of the realms. If you want something a little bit more towards the rhyme of the Frost Maiden. And then there's also some Pokemon deals. If you want to get a trading card binder, or if you wanted to pick up some sleeves, there's a lot of options for people who are looking for a good deal. And we've also seen a lot of Magic the Gathering deals as well. Definitely a lot of cool stuff from the Innistrad Crimson Vow that came out recently. The Pioneer Challenger deck from 2021. The Mono Red Burn is on sale here. We've also seen the 2022 Challenger deck. There's a lot of stuff for gamers from all different aspects. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, just follow the link that we put in the Twitch chat and check and see if there's any deal that you want to hop on. But we also have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
No, there's even more Ticket to Ride in there, JBL.
Oh, there is. There is. I skipped over the best part. Yeah, there's some Ticket to Ride. If you wanted to pick up on that, and you get ready for the expansion that's coming out. Okay. Bonsai, why don't you tell us about a very exciting award nomination announcement?
Oh, hey, so we got hot, fresh off of the internets, just dropped and released this morning is the 2022, sorry, there's lots of twos in this. Emmy Awards nominations just dropped. So if you guys are not familiar, the Emmy Awards are an annual fan-based celebration of excellence among basically the RPG tabletop community. There's a lot of different categories that they span through. I'm just going to go ahead and choose some categories and choose the names that most popped out to me. We can go ahead and go around. For example, for some of the names that popped out for product of the year, Root the RPG by Magpie Games. Also, Thirsty Sword Lesbians by Evil Hat Productions. For best online content, we got Across the RPGC with Momados. I don't know if you guys were familiar. We interviewed her just a couple of weeks ago. Very sweet human being, and the whole crew that is supporting of all types of folks that are around the world, especially for those in the Philippines, Asia, the Pacific Islands over there. So that's really good. My partner is actually one of the people that got promoted there too for the RPGC. And then Everhearth Inn is basically a collection of D&D inspired food, and they post recipes online. Best games, I have some examples. Hold on. Colossus is on there. It's like a solo RPG adventure by Nick Angle. Wise Woman, I'm very sorry I can't pronounce his name, El Cassandra Brookman, and also with the two products, Root and Thirsty Sword Lesbians being part of that, and then some of the best family game and / products, Questling RPG by Litman Games, and then Wanderhome Possum Creek Games. So if you guys want to just figure out what people are talking about in your community, this is something definitely to check out. There's a lot of really interesting games that I've made note of, and there's a lot more categories and names in those categories. I just chose what springs out to me. I don't know. What about you guys? Did you see any names that really popped out other than the ones that I've already displayed?
So a couple of friends of mine did get nominated for their podcast.
Ooh.
I kind of want to shout them out. My buddy Aram and Dylan for the Kill Every Monsters podcast. It's really good. Highly recommend you check it out if you're able to. But yeah, I was very excited to see that they got nominated. It's a really cool podcast.
I like using these awards nomination lists to find out about new games that I never heard about, like Stack of Goblins, an RPG about goblins stacked up in a trench coat. I've never heard of this before. This is amazing. I have to play this. That sounds really cool. And also, I like some of the names in this, a lot of different creative names. I'm not going to say all of them because a couple of them might not be safe to report on the show. But if you guys want to check out all the nominees, just follow the link in Twitch chat. Okay, well, I think that is going to do it for all of our headlines for today. But that doesn't mean the news stops there. Oh, no.
No.
Not at all. We have Bundle Boss.
Woo!
Got the Bundle Boss. No R. Bundle Boss. That's right. No boss. Oh, yeah. No R. You're the Bundle Boss today. Why don't you tell us all about the bundles for our Bundle Boss today?
I'm the bundle boss.
Yeah.
Time to tell y'all about some bundles. But first, we're going to start off with the humble bundle, Fading Suns 4E Adventure. This is all new Fading Suns 4E bundle. Presents the 2021 4th edition of Fading Suns, the far future space fantasy tabletop role-playing game from Ulysses Spiel. This offer ties into Ulysses Spiel's new Fading Suns Lost Worlds Kickstarter campaign, which is in progress right now. We actually talked about it on our last episode of TableTakes. Lost Worlds takes us beyond the borders to worlds cut off long ago from the Empire and the solace of the Universal Church. Gear up and set off to rediscover these mysterious planets. And if that's not enough motivation to get behind this fantastic sci-fi adventure, know that 10% of your purchase, after gateway fees, of course, will be donated to this Fading Suns 4 offer pandemic-related charity, Direct Relief. Direct Relief sends protective gear and critical care medications to health workers and emergency delivers to medical facilities across the U.S. and Canada and to the regional response agencies around the world. Just because you're not hearing about it every day like you used to during lockdown does not mean that the pandemic's still going in. We need to help our healthcare workers, so get on it. Next, we have our bundle of holding treasures of Tehadl, 5th edition. So, this is going to include a book bundle to help you expand your 5e RPG collection of adventures. It's got everything you need from Frog God Games. You can go on dozens of adventures compatible with the 5th edition system and expand what's possible in your game sessions. Uncover the secrets of the Lost Tehadl Empire and Adventures in Tehadl. 5th edition, explore a new lands with the Chaos Rising 5e virtual tabletop maps and search for the loot of your dreams with the physical Tome of Treasure hardcover book. Plus, pay what you want and support the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. So again, another good cause and a way to pad content in your game worlds. But last,
that sounds too hot to hodl. I think I broke it.
I was trying not to give into it, but that genuinely caught me off guard.
I need to put me up to it.
You know, they're always getting me into trouble. Next, we have Indie Bundle for abortion funds over at itch.io. It's up right now and includes 1,122 items for only $10. That is bonkers. If I knew how to do math, I could tell you how much that would be per item, but I don't. So 100% of the proceeds go towards the National Network for Abortions Fund, Collective Power Fund, which moves funds directly into abortion funds across 20 plus states. The bundle includes 510 tabletop games, including some better known titles like Wander Home, Apocalypse World, Neon Black, and Lost Eons. This is going to end in 6 more days, so get on it.
There's the math. The math is this is how much each game.
That's how much you paying for each thing. That's a deal. That's
a deal.
0.0089 numbers.
Yeah. That's the numbers. The numbers. I grabbed the calculator just to do that.
If I could just give a shout out to this bundle, like we've seen bundles like this before, but like this is one of the higher end ones, and it's worth it just for Desktop Goose. You probably haven't heard of it, but it's literally just a goose that runs around and steals your mouse and other things too, but it like keeps you from like getting anything done. It's so funny. It's so worth it.
All right, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
So 3 amazing bundles. 3 amazing causes. please go out and support where you can. We're all here because we're gamers. So let's use our hobby, let's use our passion to put some good in the world, because Lord knows we can use it right now. But that is your final order. Bundle Boss.
Ooh, okay, Bundle Boss. Why don't you go ahead
Oh.
and take your much needed vacation? That was a lot of bundles.
All right, I'll see y'all later.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, Noir. All right, so that's the conclusion of that segment brings us to our next segment, the Kickstarter Regent. That's right, our Kickstarter Regent is back. No more crowdfund court. It's Kickstarter Regent, and here on Kickstarter Regent we have our distinguished guests providing 2 amazing Kickstarters for you to check out before they end, and they're ending pretty soon. I'll go first. We've got Dice Throne, Santa versus Krampus. What? So you may have heard of Dice Throne. Dice Throne is a very cool board game where, of course, you have dice and you throw them, hence the name Dice Throne. And you're trying to battle your opponents using combos that you get from playing these dice, like kind of like in Yahtzee style. But you also get cards, so it's kind of like Magic. But it's also like head-to-head fighting style, so it's kind of like Street Fighter. So Dice Throne is a really cool game, and they've got a lot of characters already, but the fans demanded more characters, and that's why we have the Kickstarter for Santa versus Krampus. It's Christmas in July. We've got Santa, the jolly old Saint Nick, who is hell-bent on giving presents to all the good little girls and boys, but to Krampus, he's got nothing but rosy cheeks, holly jolly, and reindeer games, apparently. Those are 3 of his many attack combos that you can use. Santa just seems like a big cuddly oaf who's going to somehow cheer Krampus into submission. His ultimate is called Comfort and Joy, which is very awesome, I think. I backed it specifically because you never really see fighting characters with love and joy in their heart as much as I've seen this one. So I'm very excited about that. But of course, with Krampus, you've got discomfort and pain. So the exact opposite of Kris Kringle. So you can pledge $35 or more if you want to just get the battle box, or you can get the gift pack for $59 or more. So you can also get the Santa Krampus painted miniatures, the promo pack, and some card sleeves to go along with it. Santa versus Krampus Dice Throne version comes out is on Kickstarter, but the Kickstarter ends in 10 days, so you still got plenty of time. But that'll be it for my half of the crowdfunder region. What's going on? Everything's changing. It's crowdfunding here. Peter,
Excuse me. I was looking for the crowdfunder courtroom.
Sorry.
Was there a change in administration? Is there a
Unfortunately, we just Kickstarter today, Peter. It's just Kickstarter.
Well, fortunately, I have a Kickstarter. So yes, I am here to talk about the Gaussahedron, which is a new Kickstarter that is a 20-sided die. Okay. But it's called the Gaussahedron, which, by the way, is a coolest name for a die since the Zakihedron, which was, I don't know, a long time ago. And so I honestly am not sure how I feel about this Kickstarter. Okay, so it basically is a 20-sided die, but with the numbers on it are not the numbers that you would expect. There is a 0, there is a 1, and there is a 9. And there are 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 7s, and 2 8s, and 3 4s, 3 5s, and 3 6s. So you can generate a number between 0 and 9, but you're doing it with a bit of a bell curve on the probability tables in terms of what the results will be. And so the idea here is that you could then add a number to whatever you roll to kind of create a Gaussian, a bell curve distribution of results, and kind of slide that along the x-axis depending on what you need. The curve is, I couldn't help but notice that the curve is very similar to if you rolled 2d6 and subtracted 2. Just saying. I'm not sure if how many of these dice the world needs, but it warmed my geek heart to see a Kickstarter with graphs and equations and charts and lots of math. I mean, that that spoke to me. And so that's why I'm here. I mean, judge for yourself. I wouldn't just invest in it automatically. I mean, I would take a close look though and see maybe this is exactly what you need.
Wow. Yeah. I'm very interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
Math upsets me.
Math is the devil's work, don't you know? Math is what leads to bombs and explosions and more.
Oh yeah, dice can definitely be certainly pretty wacky. But I think at the conclusion of our Kickstarter, or rather crowdfunder court, we come to a guest who needs no introduction, the Dork Tower comic creator, John Kovalek. We are so excited to have you with us. Why don't you hop on board, John?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Come on in, John.
Hello. How are you?
Hey,
Hi.
Where are you at?
I am. Oh,
there he is.
2 years of
There we
Zoom
go.
videos, and I'm still doing that.
Welcome.
How are you?
Welcome to our show.
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you for this interview. Why don't you just quickly tell us and the rest of the audience who you are, what you do?
Sure. My name is John Kovalek. I am a cartoonist and an illustrator. I do a comic strip and comic books. It used to be comic books called Dork Tower. I was one of the 4 partners who brought the game Apples to Apples into existence. And I drew the apple and I wrote all the flavor text for thousands of Apple cards. And I illustrate many of the Munchkin games. I've illustrated about 7,500 Munchkin cards at this point. And we just announced Munchkin 10, the first numbered Munchkin release in a couple of years will be coming out. Munchkin Time Warp.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Wild.
10 of them.
Well, there have been, I mean, those are just the numbered Munchkin games.
Right.
I mean, I've honestly lost count of how many core games and supplements I've illustrated. It's kind of crazy at this point. So we just did, like a couple of years ago, we did the Munchkin 40K and Munchkin Age of Sigmar in conjunction with Games Workshop, which was a blast. And so we've got everything from Munchkin Cthulhu through Munchkin Shakespeare, which actually is my personal favorite Munchkin.
Shakespeare?
Oh, the Munchkin
Shakespeare. Oh, yes, it was a labor of love for me. Love's labor's lost, in fact.
Oh.
So when you're doing these Munchkin illustrations for these licensed properties, like, have you become a fan of a property through doing the art for this?
Ooh,
I've
big
grown more appreciative of Conan, certainly. But I was a fan of 40K and Warhammer in general. So that was just a fantastic something to fall out of the sky for me. You know, Drop Pod. It was a fantastic drop pod of a game. And we've done 3 or 4 supplements for each of those. And I'm going to be starting on another one soon. And by the way, I'm just going to say the new Dork Tower collection is out.
There you go. You're here to promote a book, aren't you? Wait, put that back up there. Well, tell us about your new book, John.
Well, somebody better at promoting would have sent you guys all copies of the book already. So I apologize about that. Yeah, this is the latest. This is the first Dork Tower collection, actually, in about a decade. Essentially, the comic books and the collections were something I did a lot of in the early 2000s through about 2010. And at that point, got married, had I've been married, but we had a child on the way. I needed to do something to let something go so that I had more time with family. And publishing the comic books was the easiest thing to drop. So even though the comic has continued online as a web strip, and thanks to a successful Patreon campaign, it's now being published 3 to 4 times a week, which is just delightful for me. But yeah, there hasn't been a new collection in a while. So this is it.
So
The Tao
so-
of Igor.
So what is the Tao of Igor?
Okay, so
What-
Igor Igor is one of the most popular characters in the strip, and he is frankly the least Zen-like character of all. But essentially, this book is a love letter, my love letter to local gaming conventions, in a way.
Oh,
I want to show you this 2-page spread here, if you can see.
oh yeah,
it.
that is definitely an average gaming convention you see.
It's like, just looking at that makes my hand hurt. How did you do that?
Well, it took a long time, and the Tao of Igor was funded through a successful Kickstarter campaign. And one of the dumber things I said during this campaign was, "Hey, folks, I decided to add 2 more pages to the book. Don't worry, it won't take long."
Oh,
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm deeply. I mean, it's a great addition to the book, and I'm deeply, deeply appreciative of all of the wonderful, patient backers I had for this.
The dumb things we say under alcohol or Kickstarter campaigns.
Yes.
yes.
Not necessarily exclusive.
Yeah, or both. Yes.
Yes.
Both at the same time. I guess I have a question for you with this, especially given your humor and everything. What is your favorite like trope to make fun of when it comes to like, do you have a favorite scenario? Or
Wow. I because board gaming and role playing are changing all the time. Okay, bards. Let's go down one. I was going to say it changes all the time. It's always different. There's something new coming out. There's a new book, a new rule, a new game. I'm working now on a strip about bards, and it's like, oh yeah, it's got to be bards.
Bars or bard like BARD?
Bards.
Bard, BARS.
Yes. No, bard, BARD.
Oh, okay. Or
From
bards in bars, perhaps.
Yes, and again,
Bards.
often found at the same time.
Yeah.
But yes, bards. I can't get enough of making fun of bards.
from the
That's
comics,
great.
from the strips that I've seen from your series, from Dork Tower. It seems like there is a lot of insight into not just game conventions, but also like retail stores as well. I
Yes.
believe one of my like most well-remembered strip that I can remember is one that I read actually when I was working at Mox Boarding House, a game store. And we would get these magazines that came in all the time with Dork Tower in them,
Yes.
and one of the
Game
comics,
Trade magazine.
exact
Yes.
Game Trade, that's the one, yes. And one of the ones that we read, we like passed around between all of us, had to do with someone trying to return a game that they bought off Amazon. And they're like, well, if you didn't buy it here, why do you think you could return it here? Do you have experience in retail that helps you write these things?
I have experience in retail, not game retail. Years ago, I worked for the original Forbidden Planet in London in their comic book section when it was a small store on Denmark Street. But I've got many friends who are game store owners, and I hear them complain, and I've got so much respect for them and what they've got to go through. And I'll hear them talk about an incident. And that is actually an incident which happened to a game store owner. And
Happened to me.
I will ask them, do you mind if I put that in the strip? And they will be very happy when it happens. But yeah, the Game Trade magazine is published through Alliance Gaming Distribution. It comes out monthly. It goes into game stores, and so those are very focused on the suffering store owner in Dork Tower, Bill of Pegasaurus Games.
Do you have any plans to have any of this content available at Gen Con? Because that's coming up pretty soon.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
I'm not going to be at Gen Con myself personally. I still think it's the pandemic. We just got through a scare in the household. And
Okay.
my parents are both elderly, and I like going to visit them and not, bringing any uninvited visitors with along the line.
Okay,
I
we'll
love
let you
Gen
off
Con.
the hook this year.
I love Gen Con. I can't wait to get back to Gen Con. But the Tao of Igor will be represented at Gen Con at a
Great.
couple of booths. And hopefully the Game Trade magazine strips will all be collected. There are now over 150 of those. And those will be collected into their own book, probably next year at some point.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
in fact,
awesome.
in about a month's time, we're going to have the 2000th Dork Tower on live at dorktower.com online.
Wow.
It won't be
Wow.
live. It'll be live when it goes live. But yes, dorktower.com. So I'm thinking of trying. Well, I know what's going to happen in that strip. It's going to be a very special strip. But I'm thinking of like trying to come up with some other fun things to happen in the couple of weeks we got leading up to that.
Okay.
And you know how well I do with merchandising and publicity. You know, you guys not having copies of the dang book yet.
That's okay. You know, most interviewees, they bring the gift of their presence. So we just appreciate you being here.
Oh, you folks.
I have to ask, because you've got such a definitive, like recognizable style. One, who was your inspiration when you were starting illustration? And two, how do you, like, as an illustrator, know, like, you know, this is how I do things? Like, when do you get that down? I'm curious.
You never get that down. You never get that down. You always hate the work you did a month or a year or 2 years ago, and you want to like do better and move on and do better things. You never. That's the hell that is cartooning. You never get comfortable. But seriously, my main influence was Charles Schulz. Just the simplicity of lines, his ability to craft these wonderful, emotional, hilarious strips is absolutely unprecedented. So the only similarities with Schulz is simply that I go for a very simple line style. I try to get the line quality down really. It's the ultimate goal is just to get the perfect line, both the punch line and the drawn line.
Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I was actually just going to ask you, John. You've had so much experience over your long career. And a lot of people, they don't know how many different things that you've done. I mean, like we were researching and found so many things that you were involved in. I only just like connected the dots that you helped do some of the art for Kobolds Ate My Baby, and I absolutely love that.
Yes, that's actually, kobolds are one of my favorite things to draw. I love those little guys and how they die off easily and quickly. And I was really happy with the second. I've done 2 iterations of the kobolds, and the first was okay. The second, graphically, I really enjoyed the look of those little orange monsters. Yeah, and you know, there's I've illustrated hundreds of board games at this point. Role-playing games, yeah, kobolds. I love kobolds. There's a game called Cash and Guns, which I love, which is one of mine.
Oh my gosh,
keeps
that makes
selling.
so much sense.
Yeah, I've got my a ton. I mean, there are games I forgot that I illustrated at this point. I'm working, actually, I can't announce it right now because the game's not been announced, but I'm working on a game with one of my very favorite European designers, and it's going to be published by a French company, and it should be announced soon. And it is so exciting because I love this designer's work, and they're giving me like co-credits on the box with them. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's just the coolest thing.
Well, sometimes we miss stuff, John. You know, when it's announced, be sure and let us know, because we catch almost all of the news, but once in a while something slips by us, right?
I will. Yeah, it's going to be a very fun game. It's going to be a fairly, I'm going to put it, it was like sort of at the Camel Up level of complexity.
Oh yeah, that's a great game. Yeah,
I love Camel Up so much.
Oh, it's fantastic.
By the way, have you ever played Camel Up with 2 people?
No.
It works. It works. It totally works. It becomes a very different game, but it works as a 2-player game. It's crazy. But the feel is very different. My wife and I took it with us on spring break a couple of years ago. My kid had no interest in playing it at the time, so we did it 2-player. It's like, holy cow, this totally works.
Wow.
So,
well, I
try that.
But by the way, thanks for rushing home from the hospital to get to our show, John. Yeah, I hope you're okay.
Well, you know,
you seem fine, but
priorities, you know, Peter. My kid and I, we got our black belts in Taekwondo last November.
Nice.
And so I need some hip work done at some point because, yes, I'm of that age. But so I'm trying to decide whether I go for my second degree black belt before or after I have the surgery done. So it looks like it's going to be before.
All right.
But yes,
That's awesome.
Stuff you can be like, hey, critics, I am a black belt. All right, so you better start saying nice things about my comics and my artwork.
You're gonna pay my invoice, right?
Yeah.
I might need to pick up that skill.
My sidekick may be pathetic, but you don't want to mess with my hammer fist.
There you go.
John, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this question. I'm so sorry to just slip this one in, but it goes back to Munchkin. When you're doing the art for a card, do you like ever register like, oh, this is going to end friendships or relationships? This card that I'm drawing right now.
Noir, we told you not to bring that up.
I am kind of comfortable with Munchkin's ability to end friendships. So those times when I'll have somebody request a special Munchkin card because they're getting engaged and they want to slip this card into a Munchkin deck so that they can. I've had more than one of these. I've had several over the years, and I always want to say, now you're sure this is the way you want to propose? Because just saying here, suppose the Duck of Doom comes out first, and then what's up with that?
John,
yep.
We all of us, we just want to say thank you so much for being on our show with us. It has been such a pleasure, and we always love getting to learn more about these products. But before you go, could you just tell the audience how to find this book, where it's going to be available?
Sure. Okay. Again, the book is called The Tao of Igor. It should be available through you can order it through your local games or comic stores if they don't already carry it. It's available through Alliance, Diamond, and ACD Distribution off the top of my head, and several others. Or you can go to first of all, support your local game stores, folks.
Yeah.
It's always these places
Good.
are magic.
Good on you, John.
But if you can't, you can go to the Dork Tower website, dorktower.com. And in fact, we also offer, if retailers cannot get it through their distributors, we've got special retailer rates as well for the good old brick and mortar stores that keep this hobby going. But those would be the easiest ways. It should be available probably within the next couple of weeks in most gaming stores. And if not, they should be able to order it.
All right. Well, we are all looking forward to a very special signed copy showing up on our doorsteps very soon. So
yes.
Thank you so much. John, why don't you stick around while we wrap up the show?
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. So thank you to everybody who watched our episode today. We had so much fun bringing this news, all this content to you, but don't go anywhere because we have some very exciting things coming up later today. At 3:30 p.m., we've got TableTakes game night, and we're going to be Boomer's excited. We're going to be playing Choose Your Own Adventure, House of Danger. All of us, the entire TableTakes crew is going to be playing. We're going to have a great time moving through this very spooky mansion. And then right after that, don't go anywhere because we've got Sarah's Table at 5 p.m. or
what?
I suppose, we've got some joyful gaming coming soon. We're going to be playing or seeing Peter running Ganakagak with some very wonderful guests. And we're also on Sunday, as usual, we will be having at 4 p.m. Nerd Botchery Adventures, where we're going to be seeing a lot of D&D, a lot of cosplay, and even more. Dwarven Forge. And just a quick run through of our schedule. On Mondays, we've got Board Games with the Brothers Murph. Tuesdays, we've got Out of Character with Mark Tassin, where we get to see some interviews with industry professionals. On Wednesdays, we've got Actoroki Series 3, and we're going to have movie night coming up this week. And on Thursdays, we've got Blood on the Clock Tower at 10 a.m. and then Roll with Rem Alternus at 4 p.m. And then, of course, on Fridays, TableTakes game night, and Sarah's Table. Whew, so exciting. Thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in again. Thank you to all of my lovely co-hosts for helping me bring all of this news. And of course, if you missed any of our programming in the past, you can always check out the videos on demand, the VODs here on Twitch or on YouTube 24 hours later. And don't forget to follow us here for more of the best 4 days in gaming all year long.
Thank you, Javion.
Thank you.
And thank you to our producer, Marcus, as always, for keeping us together. And
Marcus.
John, thank you for joining us for this episode. We will see
Absolute
you all
pleasure.
again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.